Hello and welcome to the Trending Now podcast for this Friday, April 26, 2024. I'm Louie Butko, and thank you for joining us as we recap the week that was on Trending Now, which you can catch every Monday to Friday, 7 p.m., 11:30 on CHCH, CHCH.com, or streaming live on our Trending Now YouTube page. Coming up on today's show, week 2 of former President Donald Trump's hush money trial wraps up in New York with a new witness, Trump's former assistant Rona Graff taking the stand. Our Trending Now host, Nicole Martin, has been following the trial of the Republican frontrunner closely this week and joins us with the latest. A proposed law would give the United Conservative Party government the right to fire councillors, overturn bylaws, and allow political parties to run on municipal ballots in Edmonton and Calgary as soon as next year. Manesa Dhanabalan joins us with more coming up on that story. And over 250 popular musicians signed a letter this week urging the U.S. Senate Commerce Committee to support a bill that aims to reform the live event ticketing system. Our resident concert goer and Trending Now producer Laura Sebben gives us her thoughts before we say goodbye. And Nicole Martin here chuckling at that.
She goes to concerts every month, I feel.
Exactly. That's a compliment.
With good reason, right? It's fun.
She is our insider, like, entertainment expert and our resident concert goer. That's like,
she knows all the details.
I every time I go to buy a ticket these days, I get to like the prices, and it's like you just get that feeling, and then you go to check out, and it's even more expensive than what you thought it was going to be.
So we're seeing Blink-182. Yeah, in August.
Yes.
And I thought tickets would maybe be, I don't know, $100, like over 200. I was like, oh, okay, all right, that's okay. But apparently, that's actually pretty average, if not a good price. Yeah, I just haven't been to a concert.
Where are you seeing them?
Long.
Are they playing?
In Toronto.
Yeah, they playing out Bud Stage, or they?
Honestly, I don't know. I didn't buy the tickets. I just e-transferred. So I don't. I think Scotiabank Arena. Laura can tell you.
Me and my buddies are going to go see Sum 41. They're doing their farewell tour. They're coming to St. Catharines in January. But even St. Catharines, like OHL rink, it's a nice facility, 5,000 seats or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was $60. So. But there's not a bad seat. Anyway, that's not what we brought you on to talk about. That's what Laura Sebben's for later on in the show. We brought you to talk about the Trump trial again. Here we go. This week, at least something was happening. Like there was a bit more drama. What did we learn this week? What stands out to you from what we learned this week?
I think David Pecker was the biggest part of the week.
4 days on the stand.
4 days, 10 hours. He was answering questions. And it got a little bit fiery during cross-examination from Trump's attorneys because they're trying to poke any holes that they can in his testimony. And it turns out he did have some kind of deal with federal prosecutors in Michael Cohen's case all about these hush money payments. So Donald Trump's attorneys are saying, okay, well, there's some motive here for saying what he's saying. At the end of the day, though, he detailed quite the plot, this catch and kill plot with the National Enquirer, negative stories about his opponents, and then just buying up all these terrible ones about Trump, from Karen McDougal, the Playboy model who had a 10 months plus affair with Trump. He denies it. She says it happened. And then even a doorman who had a story about a child maybe Trump fathered. That turned out to be untrue, the National Enquirer said. And then we got into Stormy Daniels, who's at the heart of this case. And Stormy Daniels, that was going to be like $120,000 originally for her payment. And David Pecker told Michael Cohen, he said on the stand that, I said, no, I'm not paying it. Like, I'm already out of pocket, $200,000 for this guy. And he was expecting to be paid back by Trump or the Trump organization, and he said he never was.
The couple of things stand out to me. Yesterday, there was a piece of trial evidence that was released, and it's David Pecker with Donald Trump at the White House. Pretty damning picture for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I mean, that's all part of the prosecution's case. We talked to a Harvard law professor this week, and he was talking about building the bricks to build a wall. And I love this. Like, this is a perfect analogy. We're building a wall.
It's Trump, of course.
Building a wall for Trump, but that's it. And so they were
He's
saying
finally getting that wall.
With Pecker coming out talking about meeting in person, no, nothing was ever in writing. But the fact that we have him testifying under oath saying that Trump was well aware of who they were paying off and what they were doing. With this case, it comes down to actually bookkeeping. That's what the actual criminal charge is. He's accused of really falsifying bookkeeping and misrepresenting what these payments were to kind of fooled the American population during the 2016 election. So they're just building up the blocks and the bricks of the wall to show that, yes, he was well aware of what these payments were for.
The charges he's facing are conspiracy to commit fraud in the forwarding of another crime, that being the election finance crimes, which is, if this was a payment, there's no problem with that. You can give somebody money for a non-disclosure agreement, but this was specifically
legal fees
because he was a candidate for president of the United States, which would make it an election, which you'd have to declare that is a campaign contribution.
Right, and he just put it as legal fees, and he tries to say, I didn't see it.
But he comes out and says that every time.
I know, and I mean, that's his defense. I didn't see it. There's a bookkeeper that did it. I don't know who this bookkeeper is.
No.
Yeah, it was a legal expense. We paid Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen dealt with it.
Speaking of legal troubles, not the only thing Trump was facing this week at all, because he was also, lawyers for him were also in front of the Supreme Court yesterday. And this is a pretty big deal. I mean, both of them are. This one's huge because he is basically asking, the question before the Supreme Court is a president immune from criminal prosecution for official acts done in office?
To me, this is personally pretty scary. We already know that the Supreme Court's pretty stacked with conservative judges that have been either in Trump's favor or that he appointed. And are they already leaning towards siding with him in some ways? Yes. Yes, they do feel that. They haven't laid out, obviously, their decision yet, but they were hinting in their oral arguments yesterday that, there should be maybe some immunity for presidents. But like that really comes down to the heart of, who's above the law and who is not. And presidential powers in the future.
Yeah.
But it comes down to, for the American people this year, he was supposed to go on criminal trial for allegedly overturning or trying to overturn the 2020 election results against Joe Biden. That case now will likely be pushed back for months. It was supposed to start in March, just keeps getting pushed back and pushed back. But in this situation, Americans are going to head to the polls and vote. Most likely, it'll either be for Trump or for Biden, and they won't even really know the outcome of that criminal case.
Trump can fire Jack Smith. He can stop. That's the other part of this. If it gets delayed to a certain point. Like, Jack Smith is a federally appointed special prosecutor by the Biden administration, yes, but, the special prosecutor is independent of political ideations and all that stuff. But it's going to be interesting to see these next few months play out, because here we just finished 2 weeks of a Trump trial. We've heard from 3 witnesses, 2 witnesses for sure.
They were trying to get the third now. Yeah. And I was just reading about that. So it's a finance executive, Gary Farrow. So he's testifying right now. And this was Michael Cohen's worker, his employee.
Yeah.
So he was talking about...
Cohen hasn't taken the stand yet.
No, not yet. That'll be big. That'll be really big.
And we're still waiting on...
Karen McDougal's going to take the stand as well.
And what we've heard, and I think we mentioned this last week, that Trump seems very more concerned about the Karen McDougal thing. It seems like everybody knows Stormy Daniels. Everybody knows the story. Even that relationship was deemed to be more transactional. Yeah. She wanted to be on The Apprentice. They kind of knew what they were doing. But McDougal, like you said, this was a relationship. Relationship
and under wraps, too. And so what Pecker testified as well, because they had this whole deal with McDougal, but there was some amendment to it. And the Wall Street Journal found out. They broke the story. And then that was what triggered an amendment to her gag order, essentially, from being paid off. And then she went on and talked to Anderson Cooper. So Pecker said Trump called him irate and said, I thought you dealt with this. Like, he was just beyond mad because she was going into like the nitty gritty details of their relationship. And not only that, meeting Melania. He had just had Barron with Melania too. Like, it's not a good look. And maybe it'll sway voters, female voters, maybe. Who knows? Who knows is right. We all thought there would be enough the last time. We keep thinking it, but it probably won't happen. Thank you for doing this. Thank God it's Friday, though. Woo. We made it. No, we made it. We made it. We all thought it was Saturday today. I said this earlier this week. I think like Wednesday night, I was convinced it was Thursday night. So then you wake up the next day, you're like, it's only Thursday. Like it's one of those things. I think you can tell. I've made it to the end of Friday. You still got a show to get ready for. I know. I better go do it. I will talk to you on the show as I normally do for our sports segment. So we'll see you then. Okay. Thanks, Lou. Okay. My thanks to Nicole Martin for joining me today. Still ahead, we will be joined by Manesa Dhanabalan. We'll also be joined by Laura
Sebben as well. Want to get to this story, also trending news in the U.S. After years of attempts to ban TikTok, including by former U.S. President Donald Trump, a measure to outlaw the Chinese-owned app has been signed by President Joe Biden. Now, the measure gives Beijing-based parent company ByteDance 9 months to sell the company, with a possible additional 3 months if a sale is in progress. If it doesn't, TikTok will be banned in the United States. So what does this mean for the 170 million TikTok users in the U.S.? Well, TikTok won't suddenly disappear from their phones, nor will they go to jail if they continue using it after it's banned. And it would likely be at least a year before the ban goes into effect, but with likely court challenges, that timeline could stretch even longer. Now, in the event of a successful ban, TikTok won't disappear. It would disappear from Apple and Google app stores. So it means users won't be able to download it. It also wouldn't be able to send updates, security patches, or bug fixes. More trending news north of the border this week. Pierre Poilievre was trending after a video surfaced that showed him visiting demonstrators who seemed to be associated with a far-right extremist group. Manesa Dhanabalan was on this story this week. It's great to see you on the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
This was... we got the picture here behind us.
Yeah, you see, like right there.
So for people who are listening to the podcast and can't see, you're pointing at.
Sorry, I'm pointing at a little drawing of what looks like a symbol that represents Diagolon.
Okay, what is Diagolon?
So the thing about Diagolon that really stands out when you search it up is that the person who kind of headed it, like one of the biggest influencers for it, actually made a threat. Like, he threatened to sexually assault, per se, Pierre Poilievre's wife a while back, and the RCMP launched an investigation into that. And, like, lots of, like, far-right extremist, like, actions and whatnot.
You reached out to the Poilievre camp, as we do as journalists.
Yes.
So this is what they said, quote, "On the drive between events in Atlantic, Canada, the leader noticed an anti-carbon tax protest. As a vocal opponent of Justin Trudeau's punishing carbon tax, he made a brief impromptu stop." Like, this is what they're saying. This, like, they didn't disavow any of it, right? They didn't say there were the F Trudeau flags. He seemed to not be wanting to pose with them, but it's pretty clear they were there. What do you make of this?
Well, in the statement, if you keep going on to read it, at some point they even say, like, Trudeau should be more concerned about the protest. What was the wording?
So
I can't remember
if Trudeau's
properly.
concerned about extremism, he should look at parades on Canadian streets openly celebrating Hamas's slaughter of Jews on October 7th. Okay, that's a spin. That's what we're going to do. And there were protests last weekend, at Parliament. And yes, anyone saying that celebrating Hamas should be called out.
Yep.
Celebrating Hamas and calling for, the protection of Palestinian civilians are very different. But this just seems to me like this election might get pretty ugly whenever it's called. Yeah.
And like what Alex Jones, like the video he put out, he was like, he's not saying the same things as me. It's just, there's a global awareness, and you could just kind of sit there and you're like, oh my gosh, like what?
And like, it would just be easier just to like disavow Alex Jones. Be like, Sarah, we don't want Alex Jones' support, but that's not what they did. Both. They didn't disavow this. They didn't disavow Alex Jones. And that's the part to me that's like a little concerning.
It's like, very concerning.
Pretty easy to say, like, we don't want the support of these alt-right-wing extremists.
Yeah, like that. This can easily all be shut down if they just say, like, we don't, like literally what you said, but that's not being said. So it makes you wonder, like, how much support they would be garnering just by not like going against them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, why not say it? But
I've been the subject of it. I had a podcast this week where I talked to somebody about Trump. Like, political science, and somebody got on me on Twitter, and I go through their Twitter feed, and it's like all this like extreme right wing, like Andrew Tate retweets.
Oh my gosh.
And Alex Jones retweets, and it's like, bro, it's hard to take you seriously when this is like what you're fighting for. Like, this is your side, and I'm on the other side. Apparently, that's what you're accusing me of. People on the internet are fun.
And when I was like
talk about that a lot.
when you kind of look through like some of the when you start searching them up, you go through their feeds and you start looking at some of the things that like those far right extremist conspiracy theories that are out there. It really you start wondering where it really escalates and you're like,
you know what's great? The block button on Twitter. That's always great. You just hit block, and then you don't have to hear from them. Story you're working on today, Government of Alberta announced sweeping changes to legislation regulating municipal government and elections, and would formally introduce political parties at a local level and give the province more power to overrule bylaws and remove elected councillors. This is a pretty big one. How are people reacting to this?
A lot of people they're worried about local democracy, right? And the fact that they're not, because the biggest concern seems to be like, because I even talked to an Edmonton city councillor and he was like, so what happens to the people? Like, you could think that you support the party now, but what happens when it's a different party at the next election and you're in you represent a mainly conservative area and you feel like you can't actually say what you want to represent the people, and because out of fear of getting taken out. But the minister did say that when that does happen, cabinet will actually have to give a good explanation as to why they're doing that. But it still takes away the control out of the public, right, at the end of the day.
Is anyone pointing out, I don't know if irony is the right word here, but the fact that Danielle Smith is saying we want to be separate, we want our own pension, we don't want the federal government making decisions for us. Is anyone pointing that out? Because the Alberta government doesn't want anything to do with the Trudeau government. That's been clear.
Yeah.
Does it
own police force?
Yeah,
pension, everything.
Do they not see that this is kind of doing the same thing on a municipal level?
So that actually the opposition critic that I spoke to touched on the fact that it's just control, right? They just want total control over everything at this point. And the Edmonton councillor, I believe, I'm getting it.
All these Alberta people you spoke to today. All these Alberta people.
Someone at some point did point out that.
Well, we'll watch your pack tonight.
I'm forgetting my point.
Yeah, that they just want control at this point.
Yeah, and it's just, oh my God, I had a really good point and I forgot it.
Hey, it's Friday. We've all been there.
Yeah, my brain is just shut off.
It's
now.
Friday. We're gonna watch your story.
Okay.
We're gonna watch your story. We'll find out. If passed, the bill would bring quite a few changes, but many people talking today, in fact, province will be able to remove elected officials. And I get it. There's some pushback on there's not a lot you can do with elected officials. When somebody screws up, we don't have recall votes here. Mm-hmm. Elected councillors have a lot of sway. They can just take themselves off and still get paid. It's I don't know. I think Alberta is just a very interesting province right now to be watching.
Yeah.
I feel it's a microcosm of the country, but it's always been a little...
They seem to be trending a lot.
They do seem to be trending a lot. Well done. Well done. What do you got going on this weekend?
I have
We were just talking about this. You are somebody who needs a weekend. I can come on here and bitch and complain that I need a weekend, but my weekday life's pretty not stressful. Your
words, not mine.
You deserve this weekend. I'm not even saying work. I'm saying away from work. My life's not that stressful. At work, it's not even a contest. But you deserve a weekend. So what are you doing?
Thank
what are you doing?
Say
something nice.
I actually don't. Saturday's going to be really busy. I have two things that I have 2 shifts that I have to be working.
Yeah.
And then I have to be up for an appointment early. I have to. There's a lot. It starts about tonight when I have to drop off my rental, and then I have to go from there. And then until tomorrow night at 11:30 is when I will actually get some rest.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? When I go to bed at 9 p.m. tonight, just know that I'm in bed and you're probably still doing errands for 5 hours.
Just for that, I hope somebody calls you and wakes you up in the middle of the night. Just for that.
I have the do not disturb on my phone. It's great. Great invention, especially when work's calling for me to come in early. Do not.
So when you put the do not disturb on, does that mute every single phone call?
Yeah.
You do the general one?
I don't have a specific in case of emergency.
I accidentally put my fiance on do not disturb once, and I was wondering why I wasn't getting calls.
What?
I didn't mean to do it. It was an accident.
Poor Alex. Oh my goodness.
And I didn't even know it was on it. For some reason, it didn't give me that little moon function. I don't know why. Yeah, I figured it out sooner or later.
Well, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Great
you.
to see you. My thanks to Manesa Dhanabalan for joining me today. Still had Laura Sebben going to be by. We'll talk ticket prices and a steamy new movie that's just come out that she was one of the first to see it. And can't wait for her review. But a couple of sports stories that were trending this week, including Reggie Bush getting the Heisman Trophy back. Bush says the return of his Heisman Trophy is the biggest step yet in his fight against the NCAA to restore his reputation and his records from his incredible career at Southern California. Bush and his family celebrated the restoration of his Heisman honors Thursday during a news conference atop the Coliseum, where Bush played 3 outstanding seasons with the Trojans. Bush and his attorneys, though, made it clear that their fight against the NCAA has not ended, as he indicated he doesn't plan to drop his defamation lawsuit filed last year against the NCAA over the governing body's characterization of the circumstances that led to Bush's trouble. Sad news in the world of hockey as the NHL playoffs continue, but Bob Cole, the voice of Hockey Night in Canada for half a century, who served as the soundtrack for some of the national sport's biggest moments, has died. He was 90. Friend and fellow broadcaster John Shannon said Cole died Wednesday night in his hometown of St. John's, the capital of Newfoundland and Labrador. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, the network for which Cole worked, announced his death yesterday, adding daughter Megan said her father had been healthy up until the very end. Known for his "Oh baby" catchphrase, Cole called some iconic games as part of CBC's Hockey Night in Canada. His distinctive play-by-play style added even more flavor to the 1972 Summit Series between the Canada and the Soviet Union, the 2002 Olympic final in Salt Lake City, and numerous Stanley Cup finals. He called his first game on radio between Boston and Montreal in 1969 before moving to TV in 1973, and called his last game on April 6th, 2019, a regular season finale between the Canadiens and Toronto Maple Leafs. Sad news in that. All right, want to get to this story? Where over 250 musicians, including Billie Eilish, Green Day, and Dave Matthews, signed a letter this week urging the U.S. Senate Commerce Committee to support a bill that aims to reform the live event ticketing system. First of all, great sweater.
Thank you. Peace Collective. I'll do a plug.
Peace Collective?
Have you never heard of Peace Collective?
Okay, this is like they do like drops and stuff.
Yeah.
And like you got to be on there.
No, not really. They always have, they do sometimes limited edition drops, but they always have like a collection of stuff from literally any.
Is that a real, like, is that a retro or is it designed like to be made
it's
new?
Designed.
Okay.
To be made.
Still looks pretty sweet.
Thank you.
I have, my dad has never thrown anything out.
Okay.
So he's got like a bunch of those things. So he gave each of me and my siblings like a Buffalo Bills like Super Bowl. Like,
that's kind of cool.
Because they made the Super Bowls 4 years in a row. Chantal Grillo is clapping right now because they didn't win those Super Bowls. Yes, I'm aware. Neither did Dan Marino, by the way. But
oh my God.
Sorry. Chantal doesn't normally direct, so I gotta put some shots in while I'm here. But long story short, my dad has like just been slowly passing us down his like 40-year-old clothing collection.
Nice.
And I'll go to like specialty stores who like sell this thrift stuff, and it'll be like $60 for a sweater.
Yeah.
Like I just go to my dad's closet. And
there you go. There it is.
It's a great sweater, by the way. But I brought you on to talk about this ticketing deal. As somebody who goes to a few concerts, we called you our resident concert goer.
Okay.
Fair statement.
I think that's a fair statement.
Where are we at Ticketmaster? Are they like, do they put the price, like when you pick your ticket, do they add, like, are there junk fees that when you get to the end, it's a different price? Like how open how big of a problem is the ticketing industry right now?
So the junk fees are not as shocking when you get to the final tally. They got in trouble a couple of years ago, Ticketmaster. They got sued, I believe, and were told like you have to put these fees up front. So usually the fees are listed underneath the ticket before you get to the final purchasing point, and then it usually differentiates by like $5 to $10 from what you saw on the main page. So that's kind of been fixed. But yeah, part of the issue is just, I don't know, like I feel like Ticketmaster likes to say that the artists set their ticket prices, but then they base their fees, like their processing fee and there's like at least
arena fees.
Yeah, there's at least 3 fees that then obviously I'm assuming they do it by like a percentage of the price. But I don't know. Sometimes it's like you'll see a ticket that'll be like $50, and then once all their fees are added, it is like over 100. And part of the issue that people are running into as well is they've set up this new platinum ticketing system where it basically, they call it like based on demand. So they say if there's a bunch of people on the website trying to buy these tickets, then these platinum tickets are priced up and down based on demand. So it's like if, you know, for example, Olivia Rodrigo goes on tour and she says tickets go on sale this time for this date, obviously everybody's going on the website at that time. And so then of course the tickets are going to inflate. Apparently that is something that artists have the option to opt in or out of, but I don't know how transparent that is. So I'll just use an example. I know when I bought Beyonce tickets, there were no platinum tickets.
Okay.
So I don't know, like, again, I don't know if that was a choice,
Are these,
like, whatever,
are these the
whatever.
best seats? Or
Not
is it-
even. So sometimes they'll be like the front 2 rows.
Yeah.
But
Like,
they
could
can
be
price
front
them
2
up
row,
to
but-
like $1,000. And then all the seats behind are like $150. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. I also find that it's a lot harder to buy tickets than it used to be. I know for whatever reason, after the pandemic, demand went up. It's like all of a sudden people were like, what if we could never go to a concert again? So I know that contributed to it. But before the pandemic, if I wanted to go see a concert, I was going to see a concert. Like I went to see Justin Bieber in his heyday. I went to see One Direction every year
I was just
during
about to
their
say,
heyday.
you made it sound like you were about to say like One Direction, but you saw One Direction.
I started with Justin
How many
Bieber.
times? How many times?
Like at least 6 or 7.
That's not bad.
That's not terrible.
It's not terrible.
We would go if they came. We would go to whatever shows they had. But
So now you're more
I'm trying
selective.
to use this. I'm just trying to use this as an example. Like these guys at the time were huge, and I always got a ticket. And now it's anybody's guess if I'm getting a ticket or not. And sometimes I don't even get the chance to try and get the ticket because I get denied from the verified fan system. So if I don't get a code, I can't even log on and attempt to get a ticket, which I've been hating.
Which so T Swift still planning on coming to when's that? That show's coming up
November.
2024.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they went on sale last year.
Yeah, I know. It seems like we talked about it on the show.
I
know. You don't have tickets for that though.
No, I don't.
Because
I didn't get a code.
That's one of the problems too. Preventing bad actors from charging exorbitant resale prices.
Yeah.
This also comes amid reports the U.S. Justice Department planning to sue Live Nation and Entertainment, a country's largest concert promoter and parent company of Ticketmaster, for breaking antitrust law.
So the guy that I was talking to, who joined us, he's part of NEVA, which I believe stands for the National something of like live venue associations. Okay. And I spoke to him this week, and he basically said, like, I asked him, I'm like, Ticketmaster and Live Nation, they allege that the point of this verified fan system is to help bots stay away and like give these codes to fans. And he said that it's been a failure, and that like scalpers and scammers and these bots, they have programs that they can go in and like get thousands of emails submitted in one thing. So it's like you have a bunch of fans, right? But then you also have thousands of scalpers also like
professional
like
sellers.
using like a program, like a computer program that's just like cranking out like email addresses.
The algorithm.
They're getting all the codes, buying all the tickets, and selling them at heightened fees. And I don't know if you remember when we talked about the Taylor Swift tickets going on sale, they had said like 34 million people signed up for a code, and that's more than the entire population of our country. And we were like, how is that even possible? And that's how, because it's not all fans. So
last night you had a movie going experience.
I did. Those tickets are still easy to get.
Those tickets, movie theater, they're getting more expensive though too.
It's okay, it's worth it.
Popcorn's expensive. I also can't go to the movies without getting popcorn. You saw Challengers.
Well, I got popcorn last night, and it stained my jeans because
You
it was
saw
seeping
Challengers.
butter.
Luca Guadagnino, starring Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, and Mike Feist. Sure.
I love that you do your research before the podcast.
I'm literally just reading it off
I can
the screen
tell.
behind us. You thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I really liked it. I've been waiting.
You said it was steamy.
It was
Lots of kissing.
Yeah, lots of kissing.
Which is like the most like 12-year-old review to a movie. Like there was lots of kissing.
I don't know. I feel like it's either like you either get like one kiss in a movie or like crazy like nudity and like sex scenes. So it was nice to just get some like good kissing in a movie. Like I don't know. That's how I would describe it. Anyways,
a love triangle. You ruined it. You spoiled it for me.
No, I didn't. Louie doesn't watch trailers.
You told me who she ends up with.
It's in the trailer. If it's in the trailer, it's fair game. It literally says Tashi Donaldson and her husband Art Donaldson. It's between Art and Patrick. It says it in the trailer.
So what's the point of the movie if you know who she's going to end up?
Layers, Louie.
How many times did you see this in theaters?
At least twice.
At least twice more, or at least one more time?
At least one more time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that this weekend? Big plans for the weekend?
No, actually, I don't have big plans for the weekend for once in my life.
Well, it's supposed to be pretty crappy. It might rain tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, which sucks because I was going to clean my like windows, but...
Okay.
You know?
It's the end of April. It's almost like this is our last show of April, by the way.
Yeah.
Like the last podcast.
Yeah.
Next week, there's more.
Yeah.
Like it should be like 20 degrees.
It will be next week. And it's going to be warm tomorrow. It's just going to be rainy.
Not like warm. Like even today, it was like deceptively sunny. Like it should have been 5 degrees warmer outside.
Yeah, probably.
But it's Friday.
We're getting there.
Made it. You got to get back ready for the show. I got to get my segment ready for the show. So thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Louie.
All right. My thanks to Lord Sebben for joining me. My thanks to Manesa Dhanabalan and Nicole Martin as well. My thanks to Chantel Grillo for directing today's show, even though her Dolphins are not very good. Alex Pohl, thanks for running the prompter. Bill Stewart, thanks for doing the graphics. Appreciate that as well. And my thank you for joining us because we really do appreciate it. We could not do the show without your support. Thank you from all of us here at, actually, I got to remind you to like and subscribe to CHCH Podcast so you never miss an episode of this show or any of the other great shows. And don't forget to subscribe to our Trending Now social media channels. And that includes at Trending Now CHCH on X, YouTube, and TikTok. One more time, thank you for joining us on CHCH Podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe or go to chch.com/podcast. Happy Friday, everybody. Have a great weekend.